Alright, let's catch up on what's going on. HBS has this class where they send students to 14 cities around the world to help companies with a problem they are facing. 71 of us came to Lima, Peru. Every day during the normal semester, we read cases in which the protagonist needs to figure out how to turn a company around. And our field capstone class is the opportunity HBS gives us to put that learning into practice. So during the spring semester, we had already done research and planning in order to execute successfully during our short time here in Peru. In last week's vlog, I covered my first week in Lima, and it really focused on eating at some of the most amazing restaurants, including Central and Maido. And also we did the groundwork for our project. In this week's vlog, well, you'll see, it's different, but just as awesome. Oh, and shout out to my roomie who took our clothes to the laundry last week. This is the secret to being able to travel with a single carry-on. So after a long week of work, the global section decided we needed to go on an excursion. And for some reason, swimming with sea lions resonated with a lot of people, so we went. There are a couple of islands off the coast of Peru, and even though there are sea lions, there are no sharks because the water is so cold. So to that end, the tour also provided everyone with wetsuits. The water is pretty choppy getting to the island, which is a protected natural reserve, and I usually don't get motion sick nor seasick, but even I was using most of my mental bandwidth to keep it together. And then the smell hit. We definitely smelled the sea lions before we saw them, and it was so stinky I almost threw up immediately. So it took the rest of my mental bandwidth to not barf. But the amazing thing is that you become nose blind after 5 minutes, and only the air, not the water, smells. So after 5 minutes of nausea, everyone was good to go. So yeah, we swam with them, and I was shocked about how close we were able to get. And then after swimming with the sea lions, I decided to go to a surfing lesson. One of my friends had asked me earlier in the trip, and I said probably not, but I figured that since we were already suited up, and Lima's one of the best places to learn, and he'd already gone surfing like 4 to 5 times, it was time for me to give it a try. I don't have any footage of the surfing because the surf school charges like $10 per photo, and it's not like I was any good. Oh, and also, I didn't realize, but surfing is 90% swimming and 10% trying to stand up. And even as a former competitive swimmer, I was gassed. So after being in the ocean all day, I was sticky from the salt and tired. So I decided to go sit in the hot tub at the hotel. One of my teammates, who also came surfing with me, joined me and we had a pretty good chat. And then after that, it was time for dinner. So I cleaned up and I met my team for dinner. I really enjoyed the fact that my team wanted to do things as a team. I think it speaks a lot to our team chemistry and how intentional we were trying to be about the experience. Of course, some things we did not do together, but during field, your team and your project dictate your schedule. And my team leaned into it, so we did many fun things together. For dinner, we went to another chifa restaurant suggested to us by our client. The food was good, and it was kind of strange to see what traditional Chinese elements they kept and which they modified. I also think we had one of the most interesting conversations at this restaurant because we talked about our career theses. like why do we want to do the things we're doing? And everyone's was genuinely interesting because if an HBS student is staking their career on something because they have conviction that it'll grow, it's probably worth noting and paying attention to. After dinner, we went on the hunt for some ice cream before going to a chill drinks night one of the girls in the Lima Global section had planned. I wanted to take my team to Helado de Lima, but the one near the cocktail bar was closed. Sad, but we stopped by the cocktail bar anyway for some vibes before heading back to the hotel for an early night. Because the next day we had our practice presentation in front of the professor and we had not started yet. Anyway, so the next day was just a grind. We started working on our presentation in the morning, and HBS also organized a lunch buffet so we would not have to waste time trying to find food. It's like they knew or something. It took us a little while to get the ball rolling, but once it was rolling, it was nonstop until the finish line. Luckily, we had the latest slot and not the 8 a.m. slot. A teammate and I also went on a little shopping adventure. My team wanted to buy backpacks as gifts for our professor and our guide for the week. Crepier is a really aspirational brand in Peru, and many Peruvians cannot afford it. So as a team, we decided to pitch in and buy a backpack for our guide as a thank you. And our professor, well, she told us that she wanted a new backpack, so to let her know which model she should purchase, and we figured we would just gift her one as well. But we got to the store like 15 minutes before it opened, and while we were burning time in a nearby alpaca goods store, I may or may not have bought a ginormous alpaca winter coat. So I'll figure out how to get it back to America later, LOL. Okay, so we got the goods and then returned to the hotel, and it was cranking out the presentation until go time. After we finished delivering the presentation to our professor, we made a few edits to prepare for tomorrow. Presenting to the client. And then for dinner, I took my roomie to Pardo's Chicken, and then she took me to her client store. We bought some stuff and ended the day with, you guessed it, ice cream. Okay, but help me settle this. How do you say this word? Is it mascarpone or mascarpone? The jury is still out between me and my roommate. LOL. All right, it's presentation day, and I've always wanted to try to do one of these like fashion girly edits, so bear with me. We did a final mini rehearsal as a team in the lobby before heading to Crepier's headquarters. And I just want to reiterate that I think we had the best project for many reasons, and one of the reasons is that all the Crepier stores and their office were close to our hotel. Some teams had to drive up to 3 hours for each round trip to visit their client throughout the week and to present. Anyway, of course our presentation was a home run. They gave us hugs, gifted us all travel backpacks, and each backpack happened to match each one of our outfits that day. So what good taste. And then afterwards we had a quick lunch at La Lucha, and this time they did not forget my onion salad, and I got the thinly sliced pork, which I think was way better than the first sandwich I got. And two of the boys wanted to buy gifts and souvenirs for their families. I had nothing to do, so I tagged along for kicks and giggles and in case they needed a fashion consultant. And boy, was that fun. We went back to their flagship store because that's where they had the most selection and inventory, and OMG, their products continue to impress me. They have this checked bag with a built-in scale in the handle. So cool. The boys bought one of these apiece, and then they bought 13 bags total for themselves and their family members. Honestly, it was really fun to watch the chaos unfold, and they did ask for my expert female opinion. They were so happy buying things for their families, and it was so cute. And then we had to rush back to the hotel for the last bit of HBS programming. It all ended with a celebration dinner at a venue on the water. The venue was beautiful, and the food was good. But what was super meaningful were the cards that we wrote for each other. Yes, it's such an HBS thing to make us all sappy and sentimental by making us write cards to each other as an actual assignment. So for each team member, we wrote what we appreciated about them and what our hopes are for them. I really enjoy reflecting and writing. This is what I use my YouTube channel for usually, and I loved reading what they wrote me. Honestly, reading them helped my imposter syndrome fade a little bit. I think coming to HBS with a non-business background, not having worked extreme hours like most of my classmates, and having an elementary understanding of how business works made me feel like I was maybe not as capable or resilient as they were. But my teammates affirmed my strengths, praised how I took initiative and kept everyone on schedule, and was willing to roll up my sleeves and do the dirty work when no one else wanted to. And all of that was so heartwarming to read. I really love my team, and I'm so sad that field is coming to an end. Oh, as a side note, I think another reason my team gelled so well and was so successful is that we only had one former consultant on the team. I think the teams with 0 struggled with the presentation, and the teams with more than 1, well, you can imagine how that went down. So that's the end of the HBS organized portion of the trip. For the next few days, my roommate and I decided to explore Cusco and the surrounding areas, so stay tuned for that vlog. And as always, consider subscribing and dropping a like if you enjoyed the insider perspective of how HBS runs the field capstone class, one of the brightest highlights of my RC year. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section. But until next time, bye guys!